the Grand Canyon and Arizona's wild deserts, places of breathtaking beauty but also of silent danger. In 2023, experienced hiker Ranjith Varma set out on a daring rim-to-rim trek, but never made it out alive. Just months later, in the Superstition Mountains, Noah Farabaugh's hike ended in tragedy beneath the desert sun. And in a shocking twist, 13-year-old Wyatt Kauffman plummeted 100 feet into the canyon, his survival hanging by a thread. 3 very different journeys united by one haunting truth. In these landscapes, the line between wonder and catastrophe is razor thin. The question is, who makes it back and who doesn't? The Grand Canyon, a place of awe, wonder, and timeless beauty. Each year, millions arrive from around the world to stand at its rim, to feel its vastness, and for a daring few to challenge its rugged depths. But hidden within the breathtaking views are silent dangers, conditions that test even the most prepared visitors. On September 9th, 2023, a seasoned traveler from Virginia set out to conquer one of the canyon's greatest challenges. His name was Ranjith Varma. He began his journey with determination and in the company of trusted companions. Yet by day's end, his trek would end in tragedy, reminding us all of the thin line between adventure and peril. This is his story. On that September morning, 55-year-old Ranjith Varma stood at the south rim of the Grand Canyon and is preparing to embark on a feat attempted by only the most determined of hikers, the rim-to-rim trek. Varma was not alone. He was accompanied by 6 companions, each committed to walking the demanding path together. The group's destination, the North Rim, more than 21 miles away. To those unfamiliar, the rim-to-rim hike is no casual stroll. It is widely regarded as one of the most grueling endurance hikes in the United States. Completing it in a single day requires 12 to 15 hours of sustained effort, with elevation changes that test the body at every step. The trail they chose, the North Kaibab Trail, plunges deep into the canyon's inner corridor. Unlike the cooler breezes at the rim, the inner canyon can feel like an entirely different world. Temperatures soar past 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 Celsius, and shade is scarce. The sun reflects off sheer walls of rock, creating a heat chamber that few can tolerate without preparation and acclimatization. Despite these challenges, Varma and his group pressed forward. Accounts describe him as an adventurous spirit, someone willing to take on difficult tasks, eager to experience the full measure of what nature offered. That morning, there was no sign of what lay ahead, only anticipation, determination, and the shared goal of reaching the North Rim. By early afternoon, the group had descended far into the canyon, approaching the area near Cottonwood Campground. At this point, they were roughly halfway through their journey. It was around 2 p.m. when things took a sudden turn. Varma began to show visible signs of distress. Whether from the searing heat, the physical strain, or a combination of both, his body could no longer keep pace. Moments later, he collapsed. His companions immediately sprang into action. Several of them began CPR, while other hikers in the vicinity rushed over to assist. A distress call was made to the Grand Canyon Regional Communications Center, triggering the park's well-practiced emergency response system. Within minutes, search and rescue personnel were dispatched by helicopter. But the very landscape that had drawn Varma into the canyon now posed nearly insurmountable obstacles. The walls of the North Kaibab Trail are steep, narrow, and rocky. A helicopter could not land directly. Instead, responders performed specialized aerial maneuvers, dangerous in their own right, to lower rescuers into the scene. These men and women are highly trained for such missions, prepared to work in some of the most inaccessible terrain in North America. Once on the ground, rescuers took over from bystanders. Efforts to resuscitate Varma continued with urgency and determination. For long minutes, all focus was on saving his life. But despite every attempt, Ranjith Varma could not be revived. His body was respectfully secured and later transferred to the Coconino County Medical Examiner's Office in Flagstaff, Arizona. At the time, the official cause was not immediately known. However, park spokesperson Joelle Baird noted that given the extreme conditions inside the canyon that day, heat and exhaustion were almost certainly contributing factors. The passing of Ranjith Varma was a deeply personal tragedy for his family, his companions, and those who tried to save him. But it was also part of a wider, troubling pattern. The Grand Canyon is not only a national treasure, it is also a place of significant risk. On average, between 15 and 20 people lose their lives in the park each year. Causes vary, from cardiac events on the rim to accidents and falls. But in the inner canyon, the most common danger is heat-related illness. That year, Varma was one of several hikers nationwide to die under extreme summer heat. In Texas's Big Bend National Park, a father and stepson collapsed during a hike in 119-degree weather. In Death Valley, 2 others succumbed to the heat. And just weeks before Varma's attempt, another hiker died on a different Grand Canyon trail. These sobering statistics remind us that even experienced hikers can underestimate the canyon's physical demands. The descent into its depths may feel deceptively easy, but every step downward must be retraced on the way up, often under brutal sun exposure. Officials at the park urge visitors to approach the canyon with humility and caution. They advise against hiking in the inner canyon during the peak heat of the day, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., when temperatures in exposed areas can soar past 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 49 Celsius. They also emphasize preparation, proper hydration, physical conditioning, and a realistic understanding of one's limits. For the hiking community, Varma's story resonates as both a celebration of adventurous spirit and a solemn warning. It highlights the tension every outdoor enthusiast must navigate, the drive to explore versus the necessity of respecting nature's boundaries. For families and friends, his loss is immeasurable, and for visitors to the canyon, it is a reminder that beauty and danger can exist side by side. The story of Ranjith Varma is not one of recklessness, but of ambition met with the raw force of nature. He set out to achieve something remarkable, and though his journey ended in tragedy, it has left behind an important lesson. The Grand Canyon inspires us with its scale and beauty, but it also demands respect. Preparation, caution, and awareness are not optional. They are essential. As we reflect on Varma's story, perhaps the most important question is this: when we face nature's extremes, do we truly understand the balance between our own determination and the power of the environment around us? Because in the Grand Canyon, as in life, that balance can mean the difference between triumph and tragedy. On September 21st, 1991, in the heart of Florida's Panhandle, Noah Joseph Farabaugh was born at Eglin Air Force Base. He was the second of 5 children in a large, lively family, where laughter often competed with conversation, and where love was the constant backdrop. His parents, Robert and Maureen, cultivated not just a household, but a community, one that valued faith, kindness, and perseverance. Noah grew up in Niceville, Florida, a small town whose very name seemed to mirror the warmth he carried into the world. Friends and family remember him as curious and adventurous, always drawn to the outdoors. He spent countless hours fishing in quiet waters, rafting through rapids, or hiking trails that tested both stamina and spirit. Later, he would find equal joy beneath the surface, diving in some of the world's most celebrated scuba sites. For Noah, nature was not just scenery. It was a place of connection where he felt most alive. Service was also woven into the fabric of his life. Together with his family, he volunteered at a local wolf preserve, learning the patience and humility required when caring for creatures that were both powerful and fragile. In his church, he served as an altar boy, and through the Catholic youth ministry, he deepened his faith while offering guidance and companionship to others his age. These early experiences shaped his identity as someone who did not just take from life, but sought to give back. When it came time for college, Noah displayed the same determination that had defined his youth. He attended the University of West Florida, studying business administration with a concentration in marketing. On May 11, 2025, Noah joined 4 companions for what was meant to be a rewarding but manageable hike. Their destination, the Superstition Mountains, a sprawling wilderness east of Phoenix, covering more than 160,000 acres of rugged desert and towering peaks. The superstitions are steeped in folklore. From Apache legends to tales of the Lost Dutchman's Mine, stories of treasure, mystery, and disappearance have long been tied to these mountains. Yet beyond the myths lies a stark reality. The landscape is breathtaking, but it is also among the most unforgiving in the American Southwest. That Sunday, temperatures climbed close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. While such heat is not unusual in Arizona, it is deceptive. The dry desert air can mask dehydration until it is already severe. Experts warn that even the fittest hikers can lose a liter of sweat an hour in such conditions, and that most heat-related deaths occur between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., precisely the time Noah and his group were on the trail. By midday, the hikers had been out for nearly 6 hours, and water supplies were running low. At around 12:45 p.m., Noah began experiencing a medical emergency. His companions acted quickly, and emergency responders from the Pinal County Sheriff's Office and the Superstition Fire and Medical District rushed to the scene. But despite their efforts, Noah could not be revived. He was pronounced dead where he had fallen. The 4 other hikers were rescued, though they declined hospital treatment. Officials later noted that the circumstances pointed strongly toward heat-related illness. Still, the final determination rested with the medical examiner. Importantly, authorities were clear on one point: no foul play was suspected. For the community, Noah's passing was more than a single tragic event. It was a reminder of the razor-thin line between beauty and danger in Arizona's deserts. What begins as an adventure can, in a matter of hours, become a life-threatening ordeal. The day after his passing, on May 12, 2025, news of Noah's death was reported. By the end of the month, friends, family, and colleagues had gathered to honor his memory. His obituary, published on May 27th, told the story of a life rich in experiences, kindness, and connection. And on May 29th, in his hometown of Niceville, his community came together for his funeral mass at Holy Name of Jesus Catholic Church. For those closest to him, the grief was immediate and profound. Parents lost a son, siblings lost a brother, and co-workers lost a trusted friend. Yet through their grief, they remembered him not just for the way his life ended, but for the way he lived. Noah's story carries a resonance beyond his circle of loved ones. It underscores the importance of preparation when venturing into nature, especially in regions as extreme as the Sonoran Desert. Adequate water, awareness of time and temperature, and respect for the environment are not just best practices. They can be matters of survival. His passing has already served as a cautionary tale for hikers and outdoor enthusiasts across Arizona and beyond. And yet, the essence of his legacy lies not in caution, but in inspiration. His humor, his warmth, and his boundless energy for life are the memories that endure. Friends recall how he could make others laugh without effort, how he carried himself with calm assurance, and how his generosity seemed instinctive. His family remembers his loyalty and his deep devotion to them. In this way, Noah's life continues to ripple outward, through stories told at gatherings, through memories shared in quiet moments, and through the example he set of living fully, traveling widely, and loving deeply. In the end, the story of Noah Farabaugh is not one of mystery, nor of sensational tragedy, but of a man whose life left a mark far beyond its years. His final hike reminds us of nature's power, beautiful but unyielding. His legacy reminds us of the power of human connection, quiet, enduring, and profound. Perhaps the question his story leaves us with is this: how can we balance our pursuit of adventure with the respect and preparation that nature demands? It is a question worth pausing to consider before the next journey begins. On a summer day in August 2023, the canyon's north rim was alive with visitors. Families walked along the Bright Angel Point Trail, a narrow pathway that offers sweeping views but very little room for error. Among those visitors was Wyatt Kauffman, a 13-year-old boy from Castleton, North Dakota. He was traveling with his mother. For Wyatt, like so many others, the canyon's sheer scale was something to be remembered. He took out his phone and camera, hoping to capture just a fragment of the beauty before him. At one point, he stepped slightly aside, giving space to other tourists who were waiting for their turn. To steady himself, he squatted near a rock ledge, holding on with just one hand, a simple gesture meant only for balance. But in that fleeting moment, everything changed. As Wyatt shifted, his grip loosened, and in the space of a heartbeat, he lost his balance. Wyatt slipped. He fell nearly 100 feet down the canyon wall. Above, horrified visitors stood frozen. The silence of the canyon had broken into shouts, gasps, and disbelief. From Wyatt's perspective, there is no memory of what happened after that slip. He later recalled standing near the ledge and then nothing. His next awareness came much later, waking confused inside an ambulance, strapped to a stretcher, the sound of engines and voices around him. This sudden accident was not without precedent. The Grand Canyon, despite its breathtaking beauty, is also unforgiving. More than 80 people have lost their lives in falls over the past decade, and only a year before Wyatt's fall, not far from Bright Angel Point, a 44-year-old man tragically died after tumbling 200 feet. The canyon inspires awe, but it demands respect. And for Wyatt, this truth arrived in the most immediate and personal way imaginable. When Wyatt struck the ground, an urgent clock began ticking. Survival depended on how quickly help could arrive and how carefully rescuers could reach him. Grand Canyon National Park rangers and paramedics were dispatched without delay. Their first assessment considered a helicopter rescue, but the terrain made it impossible. The steep walls and unpredictable currents would have put both Wyatt and the rescuers at even greater risk. The only option was the most painstaking one: a rope rescue. Within minutes, a specialized team was assembled. These rescuers, men and women trained for some of the most dangerous extractions imaginable, prepared to descend the cliff face. Over the next 2 hours, they rappelled downward, battling both the terrain and the immense responsibility of retrieving a critically injured child. They reached Wyatt, secured him in a Stokes basket, and began the slow, deliberate haul back up the canyon wall. Every movement required coordination. Every pull of the rope was measured against gravity itself. And above, dozens of strangers, people who had never met Wyatt before, watched silently, willing him upward with each careful step of the rescue. By the time he reached safety, it was clear how serious his injuries were. Wyatt had suffered 9 broken vertebrae, a ruptured spleen, a collapsed lung, a broken hand, a dislocated finger, and a concussion. He was barely conscious as rescuers transferred him to a waiting aircraft. From the canyon rim, Wyatt was flown to a pediatric trauma center in Las Vegas. There, doctors worked urgently to stabilize him. His young body had endured immense trauma, and his survival depended on hours of medical care and monitoring. For several days, Wyatt remained hospitalized. The outlook was cautious, but hopeful. Then, a remarkable development. Within less than a week, he was able to walk again, though slowly and with effort. Doctors were clear: his recovery would be long. But the fact that he could stand at all was nothing short of astonishing. Back in North Dakota, Wyatt's father, Wyatt Kauffman, waited through each update with both fear and hope. When he finally spoke publicly, his words were simple but unforgettable. "We're just lucky we're bringing our kid home in a car in the front seat, instead of in a box." For any parent, that contrast is almost too heavy to imagine. Yet for the Kauffman family, it was reality. The line between tragedy and relief measured in inches, in seconds, in the skill of strangers. When the time came for Wyatt to leave the hospital, the journey home was not a flight. His injuries made air travel too dangerous. Instead, he and his mother began a long, careful drive back to Castleton, North Dakota. Mile after mile, the trip became more than transportation. It was a quiet stretch of time, a chance to reflect on what had happened and what had been narrowly avoided. The accident quickly entered a larger conversation about risk, about nature, and about the choices we make in pursuit of memory and beauty. The Grand Canyon, after all, is one of the most visited national parks in the United States. Its trails are iconic, its views unforgettable, but its cliffs are unforgiving. For Wyatt, the fall illustrated how a single lapse, just one moment of imbalance, can alter everything. Even the young, the alert, and the strong are not beyond danger. His father's words carried a lesson not just for parents, but for anyone who walks near the canyon's rim. I don't care how old your kid is. Keep an eye on them. Life happens in the blink of an eye. Wyatt's survival was not only luck, it was also the direct result of a chain of human effort. The quick response of rangers, the bravery of rope teams, the skill of doctors and nurses, and the resilience of his own body. His story is a reminder of what can be achieved when training, teamwork, and determination converge in the face of crisis. Today, Wyatt continues to recover. His gratitude is simple but profound. Reflecting on the fall, he told interviewers, "I almost died. I'm just thankful to be alive." The story ends not in tragedy, but in survival and gratitude. Yet it leaves us with an open question, one worth pausing on, whether we are standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon or simply moving through our everyday lives. In our search for beauty, for memories, and for the perfect moment, how often do we stop to consider the risks and the respect that such places demand?